Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the NRG Series 10K Showdown in Chicagoland. Devin O'Donnell, aka Doomwake, joined by Niall, and we are going to be just starting round number 3 here. We've seen some really interesting magic over the first couple of rounds, Niall, and we got some players in our feature match area that you may have heard of before, and some interesting decks to take a look at. So as far as moving forward, what are you looking forward to for the rest of this event?
I mean, I think a lot of the current meta modern decks are pretty fun to watch. I know right now in the feature match we have Domain Zoo, which I think is always an exciting deck to see. Personally, I'm hoping at some point today we get to see a Yawgmoth deck, but that's just because I am a lover of Young Wolves. But yeah, I mean, there feels like there's such deck diversity in the format right now, and I'm ready to see it all. What about you?
Same. Yeah, I'm very interested to see, like you mentioned, this Domain Zoo deck that we have, piloted by Zoe Riederman. This should be a very, very interesting matchup and should be, quite fun to watch. So, but before we get you down to the feature match area, we wanted to kind of talk about what is happening next year on the Energy Series. We have a couple of dates lined up, not quite the formats yet. But February 1st through the 2nd, we're going to be in Chicagoland. That'll be a 10K showdown on Saturday and a 10K team event on Sunday, team trial. May 10th and 11th, again, Chicagoland. That's going to be 10K showdown on Saturday, followed by a 5K trial on Sunday. March 15th and 16th in Madison. That'll be a 10K on Saturday and a 5K on Sunday. And wrapping it up in season 1, June 28th and the 29th in Indianapolis, 10K showdown, followed by a 10K team showdown. And you'll notice that there are 2 team events. And that's going to be, a common occurrence for throughout the first season and the second season of the NRG series in 2025. We're kind of shifting around the events, and in terms of more team events, we want to get more team events out there. So because I know that the people at home love watching team events, and they are a lot of fun to play.
Absolutely. I love playing team events. I personally wish just about every event I played in could be a team event. I think they're exciting to play, exciting to watch. So, really cool that NRG is doing that next year.
Absolutely. But I believe, with all of that said, I believe the players are just about ready to get started. And yes, we have Ryan Munoz on the left of your screen on Boros Energy against Zoe Riederman on the right, playing a Domain Zoo, as we talked about. So both players playing Giganta. We see that, a very common occurrence here in the modern format. But Zoe is, the Domain Zoo deck is really trying to utilize things like Lane Line of the Guild Pact to power out stuff like, Territorial Kavu, Scion of Draco, burn spells like Tribal Flames, and, removal spells like Leyline Binding. And then for Ryan, just kind of the tried and true Boros energy, not a ton of fancy stuff going on. As far as the matchup is concerned now, who do you like in this particular matchup?
I think that's tough. I mean, I think really for Zoe, it depends on how explosive is her start. She has a lot of starts of the game that can be extremely impactful, and I think can just sort of run away with it before Ryan can get anything done, as we're going to see a static prison on this Ragavan. Uh, Whereas I feel like Ryan, the longer the game goes on, just might be better and better for him. Also, interesting in Ryan's deck here, we have 2 main deck Blood Moons and 1 in the side, which
Mm.
could prove to be extremely valuable in this matchup specifically.
Yeah, we mentioned the Domain Zoo deck is, in the as it's in the name, does have 5 colors worth of mana. But what's interesting is, specifically when it comes to Leyline of the Guild Pact versus something like Blood Moon, there's kind of some weird like timing and timestamp things that come into
Mhm.
play. But, without the lane line, Zoe is, going to be at the mercy of whether or not Ryan does have it. And I believe I took a look at Ryan's hand. I think I did spot a Blood Moon in there alongside, looks like Ragavan, an additional copy of the One Ring. So, if Ryan can deploy that Blood Moon next turn, maybe even find a basic planes, you got to assume Ryan's probably in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm positive we have the Blood Moon. I think he might also have a land. So, yeah, could really could really just put Zoe in an extremely tough spot very early on. So we're going to see a lightning bolt on Ryan's instep, taking care of the Amped Raptor.
Keep
And
the
there's
board
going to be the
clear.
Kavu on turn 3 for Zoe with a fetch land up. So at least when the Blood Moon comes down, we can, maybe go find one of our basics.
Yeah, the other interesting thing too is Zoe is playing 3 copies of Stubborn Denial in her main deck. So, if Ryan were to go for a Blood Moon this turn on 3 lands, even without a four, well, does have the 4 power creature anyways. But yeah, even if the Kavu wasn't there, still would not be able to pay for the stub. But that is another aspect of this that Zoe, with 1 mana untapped, will always have the ability to Stubborn Denial that Blood Moon.
And it looks like the land that Ryan had was the Elegant Parlor. So only gonna have 2 mana this turn. Not enough for a Blood Moon, enough for a Ragavan Ocelot Pride, which also very, very powerful, as Zoe is gonna go ahead and fetch down to a Surveil land of her own.
Yeah, and all 5 colors of mana online here for Zoe. So things like Leyline Binding, Tribal Flames, Territorial Kavu, all fully online. Puts a Flooded Strand into the graveyard. Can't quite get a good look of what Zoe is. Well, I saw 2 Tribal Flames. Never mind. That's a lot of damage.
I think there's a Bowmasters in there as well.
Pretty good hand here for Zoe.
So we'll attack, have a Kavu trigger. It's like
Yeah,
just exiling a raptor from the graveyard.
Yeah, and if you're in Ryan's seat, you're like, Zoe's 3 cards in hands, and we're not discarding cards with Kavu. You gotta be a little bit worried about that if you're Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
But we mentioned Zoe does not currently have access to a Stubborn Denial. So this Blood Moon, if Ryan were to go for it, will resolve.
Yeah, we'll see if he wants to just jam it here.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because if you're in Ryan's seed, there's a couple of things to consider. There's no basic planes, so if you cast the Blood Moon, you are sort of locking yourself out of white mana, at least for the time being. And the other thing to consider is, if you don't cast it this turn, maybe Zoe has a follow up
Mm-hmm.
of Tribal Flames or something like that. So yeah, looks like Ryan is choosing to not cast that Blood Moon, and with 2 Tribal Flames in hand now, this game might just be over next turn, depending.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely close. I mean, Zoe's very close to just having this wrapped up.
Looks like she picked up a Leyline of the Guild Pact. Not the best
Yeah,
draw step, but can discard that to the Kavu.
can discard it to the Kavu. I'll have to see what this attack from Zoe ends up looking like.
Yeah, the other thing is, Zoe kind of wants to loot away the ley line to try and find land 4 to cast the Tribal Flames. But if Zoe attacks with the Kavu, you have to imagine Ryan is probably just going to chump block with the cat token to flip
Mm-hmm.
the Ajani. But then if that happens, maybe Zoe can Tribal Flames the Ajani. But she decides to just pick up Giganta and pass. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. And I mean, Ryan has really set himself up now to be able to play Blood Moon pretty well. Looks like we picked up a Guide of Souls. It is Guide, Blood Moon, Ring in hand for Ryan. Uh, but yeah, I mean, before, we had the Ajani, the Ocelot Bride. Really, as you said, don't want to turn off the white mana with cards like that in hand. But I mean, maybe now a little more likely. Although the Guide of Souls, such an important creature, so impactful for this deck that maybe he just wants to get that out this turn. We'll see.
Yeah, the other interesting thing is I don't know if Ryan is debating on whether or not we want to keep the Static Prison because we haven't
Mm-hmm.
motioned to that. If he goes to cast a spell, we can have the judges go over there. Okay, we are thinking about it. Yeah, he's choosing to sacrifice the Static Prison, which kind of makes sense because the Ragavan on Zoe's side of things doesn't really do a ton on this board. You have it checked by
Mm-hmm.
the Ocelot Pride. You have a bunch of other blockers. And love this attack too, because if any of the cats die in combat, you can flip the Ajani and start, going to town with that. So Yeah, Ryan
Right.
now with that Blood Moon really in a very, very commanding position.
Yeah. And, the Kavu much weaker now.
Yeah. Was a 5/5, now only a 1/1.
Yeah.
As far as basic lands are concerned, Zoe does have one basic plains in her deck, so maybe she can draw that to find a second type for the Kavu and the Tribal Flames. But other than that one plains, doesn't really have a ton of good draw steps here.
Yeah. So we're going to go back over to Zoe. Looks like a Scion
Yeah,
picked up at a pretty awkward time.
would have been real good last turn.
Would have been very nice last turn.
Yeah, looks like the hand is Tribal Flames, Leyline, Gigantha, and that Scion. So, I mean, can cast a 2 mana sorcery that deals 1 damage, maybe to
Ooh.
kill the Ocelot Pride, but then that flips the Ajani, and that also creates other problems. So, yeah, this one's looking really tough here for Zoe.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what her line out of this is. And I mean, I don't know if she really has one at this point. I mean, the combination of the Blood Moon and also just the devastating board Ryan has been able to put together. It's just a lot to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, the combination of exactly the one planes and a leyline binding, because the binding would cost 4. So if her draw steps, the next 2 turns are exactly planes binding, and she has the much time, but I also don't even think she has that much time because Ryan's board is just growing every single turn.
Yeah, I can't imagine she's getting 2 whole turns. I mean, even if she does, we get 2 turns, life total's gotta be extremely low at that point, and then we tap out to get rid of the Blood Moon, and then what? Looks
This
like
is a pretty
attacking.
interesting. Yeah, very interesting attack here for Zoe. And I think what she's maybe thinking is if Ryan blocks one of, because she's, 3/1/1s in the Ragavan. If Ryan blocks one of the 1/1s with the Ajani, if he can finish it off with the Tribal Flames.
Oh, maybe.
But yeah, Ryan probably just going to block the Ragavan with the cat and take 3. Okay. Well, yeah, this is fine too because the Ajani transforms before she has the ability to Tribal Flames the Ajani.
Yeah. Go. So
Okay, what happened?
the Ragavan and the it looks like we're not flipping the Ajani, which means
The
the
Ajani didn't
Flames
flip.
is going to take care of it.
Okay. Okay,
Huge
hold
play
on.
from Zoe. I
All
mean, we do have
right.
a Ragavan to deal with now, but
We've
still.
answered one problem. That's not exactly how I thought this combat step would end. So we see an attack here for 5. That's going to put Zoe down to 8. And Ragavan hit, and that is also going to give Ryan access to white mana. So has the ability to play the Guide of Souls or just cast the One Ring.
Mhm.
So we'll see what Ryan chooses to do there. Presumably just cast the One Ring, because that probably will eventually find more white sources, but we're going to go for the Guide of Souls. Looks like a Raptor as well. Yeah, okay.
That's pretty good. Gonna go up to what, 4 energy?
Yeah, and that can hit. Ooh,
Ooh.
that's pretty good. So down to 1, back up to 2 energy, kill the Bowmaster. Yeah, now Zoe basically has no battlefield and only red mana. So presumably this is going to be going in favor of Ryan here in just a moment. Zoe's going to take a draw step. Found a bolt, but probably a little too late.
Probably a little too late. Yeah, I mean, this board is just devastating.
Yeah, and Zoe is going to pack it up. So game number 1 going to our Boros Energy player, Ryan Munoz, on the left of your screen. So, I mean, that is sort of how we predicted the matchup. If Zoe doesn't have the very powerful Leyline plus Scion start, I think in most of those situations, Ryan is going to be ahead, and the fact that Ryan has access to Blood Moon, which also came up. So that is sort of exactly how we drew it up, I guess, if you're Ryan. Now, as far as sideboards are concerned, maybe we can get a look at those on screen here for you in just a moment. Zoe working with a Soulless Jailer, a couple of Consigned to Memories, 3 Pyroclasm, a Mystical Dispute, 2 Wear Tear, 2 Ghost Vacuum, and 2 Damping Sphere. Got to look towards those pyroclasms. But if you're a Zoe side of things, is there anything else you want besides the pyroclasms?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you are interested in the wear tear when you've seen, main deck uh, Blood Moon, as well as stuff like Static Prison, things like that. Maybe you're even interested in some of these graveyard hate kind of cards. I think if you're Zoe, you have a handful of cards that you could bring in depending on how you feel like this Boros Energy deck is built and is planning to go up against you. What do you think Zoe might be wanting to take out here?
So as far as cards to take out, I'm not generally a huge fan of Ragavan in this matchup because it just kind of gets stonewalled by not only stonewalled by Ocelot Pride, but also not that great into an Ajani because they just trade with the
Hmm.
cat token. So I
Yeah.
think Zoe probably wants to cut her Ragavans. Tidebinder is a bit interesting. It's slow, especially against the start of like 1 drop into 2 drop, which Boros frequently does. But that being said, it is decent against Flage. So yeah, maybe the Tiebinders. But let's go ahead and take a look at Ryan's deck list. We did take a look at the main deck Blood Moons. There is a third copy in the sideboard, alongside some Charmaws, a Fear Fire Foes, 2 Orms Chant, a Surgical and Exercise Reprieve, 2 Thraben Charm, an Untimely Malfunction, and a Damping Sphere. Anything you like here from Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, really like a ton of cards here in the sideboard. I mean, maybe we are interested in this exercise. Maybe, I mean, surely we're bringing in this other Blood Moon.
Mhm.
I don't know. What else do you think from this
Could maybe do
sideboard?
the Thraben charms to be able to fight over, bigger creatures, things
Hmm.
like that. Like you said, the exercise to be able to kill the ley lines, because that is a big part of this matchup. Fear Fire foes could be interesting against Ragavan and Bowmasters, but there are some larger creatures. And then, yeah, definitely the Blood Moon. So we will have to see exactly how Ryan chose the sideboard as we get back down to the match here. And players looking at opening hands. Looks like Zoe is on. I can't tell if that's Zoe on 6 or Ryan on 6. Looks like Ryan.
Ryan. It looks
And
like
see if
Zoe
we
has
get
a
it.
ley line and a ghost
There it
vacuum in
is.
hand.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if the ghost vacuums were going to come in, but they do make sense against Flage.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
It
mean,
looks like
this
we
is how
also have
you
a
draw it up.
Scion.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's Ghost Vacuum on your screen. A bit of a newer card here from Duskmorn, similar to cards you may have seen in the past, like Nihil Spellbomb, Relic of Progenitus, Soul Guide Lantern, but just like another way to do that. And if the game goes long, maybe a couple of spirits can't be that bad.
Mhm.
Yeah, Zoe actually choosing to hold up mana on turn 1 instead of deploying the Ghost Vacuum looks like potentially a ley line binding. And she is choosing not to, presumably not to binding the Pride and just going to get a Surveil land here, would be my guess.
Mhm. Yep. Gonna go ahead and get the Thundering Falls and Surveil off the top here.
But yeah, if you're Zoe, this is exactly how you draw it up here. Just the turn 0 ley line with the Scion in hand, and things are off to the races. And really, if Ryan's going to compete in this game, we're going to need to find an answer for that ley line stat, because
Yeah.
that is basically that is a 4/4 with 5 keywords on it, which
Yeah.
is not a lot of text.
Very. I mean, we talked about Zoe needs these explosive starts, and this is definitely it. We'll see how prepared Ryan is for it.
I think I caught a glimpse of a static prison in Ryan's hand. I think the second land, funny enough, is Arena of Glory, which a bit awkward with basic planes on turn one.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure Ryan does have a prison.
Yes, there's
And
the prison.
yeah. All right, so Leyline answered for Ryan, which is no, don't quite have the city's blessing. Not quite
Not
10.
quite. A few permanents short of City's
Yeah,
Blessing.
just a couple. And we'll ship it back to Zoe. Now, that does mean that Zoe's start is a little less appealing, but I mean, hey, she's still got a 4/4 flyer, so
Yeah.
can't be too upset about that. Didn't quite get a good look of what she was working with. I know she had a leyline binding. Um, Not sure what other lands we have to work with because right now we're only representing Grixis mana, which is a bit awkward because a lot of her threats, Territorial Kavu can't be
Mhm.
cast, Flage as of right now can't be cast, Binding can't be cast. So, and it looks like she does not have a third land.
Does not have a third land. We are going to go ahead and pay for the prison. We're also going to go ahead and get another energy off of our land drop and swing in with the pride. Start making some cats.
Yeah, we'll see what the follow up is here for Ryan. Looks like
Ooh,
discharge. That'll take care of the Scion. Up to 5 energy, down to 1.
extremely powerful card. The Guide of
Yeah,
Souls. Just go ahead
guide.
and eat the card from the graveyard. Just keep the graveyard empty.
Yeah, the Guide of Soul is kind of perfect here with the Ocelot Pride. That's going to make sure that the energy keeps flowing because there is definitely some tension. Excuse me, some tension with Static Prison,
Mhm.
where if your Guide of Souls, like if all of your Guide of Souls dies, ooh, there's a Pyroclasm.
Oh,
That's big.
huge pyroclasm from Zoe there.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, that the Guide of Souls dying is going to mean that Ryan's sort of maybe out of energy generation for the time being. Uh, my goodness. Well, there's 3 energy.
Yeah, and
But
I
you know
mean,
what's this is weird though now because Ryan's gonna cast the Blood Moon,
yeah,
but doesn't have energy to pay for the prison. And
right.
now if the prison goes away, the ley line, I believe, Jack can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's time stamped. Or maybe it's
Mm,
not. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% positive. We'll get chat to correct us on that. It might still not affect the non-basics though.
yeah, well, we're gonna swing him with this raptor.
Okay, chat's telling me that it is timestamped, but yeah, Ryan also still does have the Thraben Charm in hand, so
And looks like Zoe responding to the Thraben Charm with a Leyline Binding on the Blood Moon.
all right. So not full domain, but Zoe now still has access to Grixis mana.
Right? And we know there's a Stubborn Denial in hand.
Yeah. This is an interesting game.
Very interesting. Getting in with our Amp Raptor. There is a Discharge in hand for Ryan.
Yeah, worth pointing out. This is, I believe, the graphic. Yeah, right as we said that, the graphic got updated. This is game number 2. Ryan is currently up a game, so that is these are post board games where Ryan has access to the Thraben Charm. We see a bombardment into the graveyard,
Hmm.
and Giganta picked up here for Ryan. That is a big ghost vacuum. Only one creature under it. The God of Souls. Maybe
Is that 3 ley lines in Zoe's hand?
I did not get a good glimpse of it, but if that's the case, that is that's tough.
They're minimum 2. I feel
Okay.
positive they're minimum 2.
Oh my goodness. That's not where you want those ley lines, Niall.
It is not where you want them. Okay, so now we have domain. We have full domain. But the life total getting a bit low for Zoe here.
Yeah, Zoe already on 9 life. Looks like okay.
Oh,
Flage is pretty good.
that helps that problem.
She does have a very, very stocked graveyard. I think you're right. I think there are 3 ley lines in Zoe's hand. Yeah, I think it's 3 ley lines and a stub.
And Devin, what do you think the odds are that the second activated ability of Ghost Vacuum becomes relevant this game?
I feel like it's unlikely because if Zoe draws land 4, she's just going to slam Flage, and I would guess that Flage ends the game before we get to that point, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We got a hasty Gigantha.
Hasted Gigantha.
I gotta tell you, this is I don't know if you have the same experience, but this is one of the best Gigantha decks I've ever played, just because of
Mm-hmm.
how sick Arita of Glory is with Gigantha.
Oh, it's so good. It's crazy. Yeah, that is 3 ley lines. Brutal.
And Zoe not being able to find land number 4 means the Bowmaster, or excuse me, the Flage is offline for a turn.
Yeah.
But we have some chump blockers here with Bowmaster.
Mm-hmm. And then Ocelot Pride.
All right, big draw step here for Zoe. Does she find land number 4? It kind of has to be this turn. I think it was a Bolt.
Yeah, she's in a rough spot. The downside, it was a Bolt. The downside to running, these cards you can get out for free at the beginning of the game is sometimes you just draw them. And sometimes you draw 3 of them.
Yeah, and so with Zoe on 7, let's assume for the sake of argument that Ryan has nothing, right? Surveils,
Yeah,
graveyards, doesn't find anything.
sure.
Zoe can Lightning Bolt the Ocelot Pride, take 5 from Giganta, go to 2, and then draw a white fetch land, either a Mesa or a Strand, to go get the basic planes, go to 1 to cast the Flage.
Yeah, could. I mean, can also potentially jump the Gigantha if needed.
True.
Put a little more,
No,
a
now
little
we're
more
not
heads
jumping
up. Oh,
anything.
well.
Yeah, there goes that plan. So, yeah, now I think it has to be Bolt the Pride and draw exactly a white fetch land, because
Mm-hmm.
Shock Land's not going to do it since we're going to be at 2.
Yeah.
All right, big draw step.
Ooh. Wear
Not
tear is
quite.
not what you want.
Yeah.
All right, and that is going to be it. A GG from Zoe.
God, 3 ley
Really,
lines.
really brutal one there.
Yeah, that is, as we talked about, the ley line Scion start, very, very good for Zoe, but does need to follow that up. And especially in the post board game, Zoe, Ryan does have a lot more answers to the ley line Scion starts. And that's kind of exactly how we saw the games play out.
Yeah, I mean, Zoe got her explosive start. We just weren't able to maintain it or follow up on it in the way we wanted. And just getting stuck on lands there and 3 ley lines in hand. That is so, so brutal. But, very well played from Ryan. Congratulations on taking down this round. And I think we have a backup match, Devin, that we can pop over to once we are ready.
We're going to do I believe we're looking at doing an interview with Ryan beforehand, and then we may have, we'll see if we have time to get to the backup match. So we'll get you an interview. We're getting Ryan in the booth in just a moment here. We're getting that set up. But yeah, as far as the matchup is concerned, I think that's sort of exactly how we anticipated the matchup to go, where if Zoe has the Leyline Scion unchecked, which, both games for Ryan, it was checked in that case. And like you said, just really rough draws there for Zoe with the 3 ley lines. I will point out, excuse me, Gigantha did a lot of damage that game. I believe it did
Oh,
15
absolutely.
damage.
Yeah. Gigantha was the MVP of the last game for sure. But also, Ryan very heavily rewarded for his main deck Blood Moons. This is absolutely a match where that is going to probably feel just about at the best that it's going to feel. But, definitely paid off in a big way for him.
Absolutely. So I think we're just getting the final touches ready on the interview. Here we go. Ryan Munoz, congratulations on advancing 2-3-0 in the NRG Showdown. As far as the matchup is concerned, talk to me about what was maybe going through your head playing against the Domain Zoo deck.
Um, Thanks, by the way. Zoo's really 50-50 match, in my opinion. I mean, Blood Moon in the main really helps out with another one on the side. Um, it's funny. You ask the Zoo player, they're going to say they're favored. You ask the Boros player, they're going to say they're favored. I think the draw really depends on it. As you could see, game two, she opened up with Leyline and Scion, and I was still able to get around that. Um, I don't know. I think the low to the ground, going wide plan pre-board is really good for game one. Game two, you have to play around pyroclasms. As you can see, it's still I got pyroclasm, but Giganta was able to finish the job. Arena Glory is a really fun card.
Yeah, we were talking about how, this really feels like one of the best decks to play Gigantha in because Arena of Glory just makes it feel so much more relevant,
Yeah, like
being able to haste it out like that.
yeah, Dingo has moved up to 3, which I still only have the 2, but like it's that
Mhm.
good where you could play and like utilize it the best in my opinion. Jerry Thompson, back a month ago or whatever, actually got me off of Giganta to try Skyclave, and that just felt like a mistake for the weekend. I know Devin's talked about it on stream, so it's like making your choice there and but it's a free card. It does so much. It's hard to get rid of it.
Yeah, I was like you mentioned, I was a big fan of the Skyclave list for a while after Dre posted that, but it just like the amount of times that you play Gigantha and either give it haste or haste and +2/+2 and flying with Guide of Souls, it's kind of wild.
Yeah,
Um,
I've heard a lot of stories with the Guide of Souls. I've yet to do it yet. I've been playing this deck for 3 months, and I never have Guide. They always kill it.
yeah. Yeah, as far as the deck is concerned, I mean, it looks pretty standard stuff here. I've seen a lot more Boros lists recently move away from Lightning Bolts and kind of more on the maximum static prisons and discharges, and that is what you've chosen to do this weekend. Is that just a case of Lightning Bolt not being good in the format anymore, or?
So my main thing was going off of Oculus. I think the Frog matchup is really good for me, in my opinion. But Oculus gives them that advantage. Lightning Bolt really doesn't do anything against them. So building up my energy for Discharge and Static Prison, I feel like are just cleaner removal spells. I haven't really missed it. I've been off of the Bolt for a couple weeks now, and all my matchups seem pretty good. I mean, the mirror having more spot removal is good, but you don't even need it when you have bombardment and Johnny's and post board. You get fear fire foes, even though they have bombardment. You got to play around it, but I just think it's not as good as it used to be. Every card gets power crept out of everything, but I still love Bolt, and if I could play it, I would. But honestly, I just don't think it's correct right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, very well played and well navigated in that last match, and hope that you continue to crush this event this weekend. How are you feeling just overall? How's your deck positioned? How do you feel?
I, I mean, Boros is clearly one of the best decks in the format, if not the best deck. I feel very good. I've been playing it for 3 months now. I feel like I'm piloting it better. Uh, I'm very confident. I was a little nervous coming here. I don't really play the bigger tournaments, but I wanted to come and test it out, and we're 3-0, so let's keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Off to a good start. So, yeah, Ryan, congratulations again. We wish you the best of luck, and thanks for taking the time for the interview.
Hey, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So that is Ryan Munoz advancing to 3-0. And I believe, as you alluded to earlier, Niall, we got a little bit of a backup matchup for you. So let's see if we can head on down to that. We have Theo Jung on the left. These players are both 2-0, and Andrew Ellenbogen on the right. This is going to be Demir combo, as Theo puts it. We use the term combo loosely, the combo being Unearth plus Oculus, and Andrew Ellenbogen playing Mono Green Eldrazi with well, see, this is the real combo deck, Niall.
Yeah, it looks like we are starting off here with a delighted halfling that is just going to get dealt with immediately and swiftly.
Yeah, and so Andrew Ellenbogen, this is listed as Mono Green Eldrazi. Andrew's actually playing the Basking Broodschale Blade of the Bloodchief combo deck, which is a deck that has been sort of picking up in steam a little bit. I believe it was Matt Nass who who took down an RCQ somewhat recently with a different version of this deck, and it's kind of been picking up a lot. If you assemble Brute Scale plus Blade of the Blood Chief, that provides you infinite mana and an infinitely large Basking Brood Scale, and then from there, your main way to kill is with the one of Walking Ballista. So we'll have to see if that, if Andrew is able to set up the combo, and Theo just kind of playing the more traditional blue black. Well, I guess I say traditional, but there's these decks now they have been moving away from Murktide recently.
Yeah, no, I feel like there's been a ton of evolution and iteration on these Demir lists recently. So always very interesting to see kind of what version and specific number of things that people end up bringing into these. Looks like we're going to get a Root Scale, and it is going to just get spell snared immediately. And another one that this one might get to resolve.
Do we have a second spell snare? Yeah, Andrew Ellenbogen also deploying 4 Glaring Flesh Rakers. And I think an interesting part of this kind of Eldrazi combo deck is it can kind of just win a normal game of Magic with Flesh Raker generating some creatures that deal damage to Theo. You can use the One Ring to draw some cards. So it is it is a 4 Urza Saga deck too, which that certainly can win games by itself. So it does have ways to win even without the combo.
Yeah, absolutely. And here comes the Oculus for Theo. Gonna exile 6 cards from the yard here.
And there it is. There is the eye. This is a card from Duskmourn. Very, recent card here that we see, been popping up a ton recently. And, I really didn't think that we would be power creeping Murktide Regent, but Niall, here we are, a Borid Oculus just all over the place here.
This card feels so disgusting whenever you get to play it. I mean, we're going to Manifest Dread at the start of all of Andrew's upkeeps. Get our creature here. It looks like we're going to go ahead and equip.
Yeah, this is the infinite combo. So Andrew explaining, we've made 30 Sponto. We have 30 colorless mana floating. We have an infinitely large Brood Scale. For those of you who don't know how the combo works, I'll just kind of explain it briefly. So Brood Scale has a line of text on it that says whenever a +1/+1 counter is put onto it, you can create a spawn token. Blade says whenever a creature dies, you put a counter on equipped creature. So you sack the spawn token, put the counter on the Brood Scale, that makes a spawn. Rinse, repeat, infinite mana, and then eventually get to either Ballista or Glaring Flesh Raker, and that's game number 1. So I don't know if we have sideboards here for you in just a moment, but as far as that was concerned, as far as that matchup is concerned, interesting to see the combo play out. So Theo playing the Dimir Oculus deck, we got 3 Graveyard Trespassers, 2 Harbingers, 4 Consigned to Memories, 3 Thoughtseize, 2 Mystical Dispute, and a Toxic Deluge. Playing against Eldrazi, probably want the Consigned to Memories seemed like a slam dunk here.
Yeah, you got to be so happy to have 4 consigns in the sideboard right now. What do you think about a card like Thoughtseize here?
Because Andrew's deck is kind of more focused on the combo, I don't hate it. Although if the game does come down to like a fair fight, then Thoughtseize against Urza Saga isn't the best lineup. So it's that's kind of close. Kind of depends on how many things that Theo has to board out. Like maybe the Force Negations can come out, maybe the Orcish Bowmasters, things like that. So there's an Anoint with Affliction in Theo's main deck too, which I love quite a bit, especially for the Oculus mirrors.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so that is Theo's deck list, and then as far as Andrew's is concerned, the sideboard we're looking at 1 Haywire Might, 2 Pick Your Poison, 3 Veil of Summer, 3 Dismember, 1 Cage, 1 Needle, 1 Vexing Bauble, 1 Gemstone Caverns, and 2 Damping Sphere. Gotta love the Veil of Summers, probably the Dismembers against Oculus, and then past that, not sure if there's anything else here.
Do you think you bring in the Pick Your Poisons ever?
It's interesting where it is good against Oculus, but the problem, yeah, I guess the issue is like Theo has the unearths to get them back, and Theo's going to
Mhm.
be up a 2-2 in the exchange, but maybe
Mhm.
you just don't care that much about the 2-2. You just care about getting the Oculus off the battlefield.
Do you think you just swap a land for this gemstone cavern every game that you're on the draw?
I would guess. I would guess that's likely Andrew's plan. Maybe you're cutting a spell for it because it looks like we are on 20. Okay, we're on 23 lands. I hate and Melee likes to put the Urza sagas not with the
Oh,
rest of
yeah,
the
yeah.
lands, so it's always confusing. So yeah, 23 lands. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at game number 2 as we saw, Andrew take down game number 1 with the combo. So we'll see if we can do that again.
Yeah, and I mean, worth noting that Andrew had kind of the nuts there, right? Like, not only did he have all the pieces he needed, he had a redundancy of the pieces, that could be countered. Also, just had the walking ballista, which is a one of in the deck. Um, and the caverns, the gemstone caverns,
Yeah, we asked
another
about it.
one of.
Yeah, wasn't sure if it was gonna. Well, we knew it was gonna come in, but we weren't sure if it was going to.
Oh, and there's the Thoughtseize, another card we were considering.
It would have been sick if Andrew had the Veil there, just like Gemstone Caverns Veil your Thoughtseizes in the draw, but
Oh,
not the full Monty. But Andrew's hand's pretty good. There's a Kozilek's Command, a Rumble, and a Ring, along with a couple of lands. Yeah, gonna decide to take the Rumble. Now, this is sort of what I was worried about, where Theo is maybe boards in the hand disruption and maybe just gets buried by a Saga.
mhm.
But maybe it's possible that if Theo is much happier playing that sort of fair game against Urza Saga, because just with a removal spell or two can take care of the constructs, and as long as he's not worried about the combo, maybe that's a place that he doesn't mind being here. See, Ellenbogen draw for turn has the ability to make a construct token. We got a reader on Gemstone Caverns. That one cannot produce colorless mana if the counter is on. I
And
think
we're
that's what
going
we
to
were
go
thinking
ahead and
about.
fetch here for Theo. Can we get a Surveil?
Yeah, and with land 4 rolled up, land 4 and the One Ring both face up here for Andrew, so that is something that Theo definitely has to worry about next turn.
We're going to bin a Spell Snare off of that. And play another fetch land, and looks like we might just be passing as Andrew makes a construct at end of turn here.
And I'm curious to see if Andrew... Okay, we're going to decide to make another construct instead of going for the One Ring.
Yep. So now we are resolving our Urza Saga. Getting Springleaf Drum.
Yes, now the constructs are 3/3s. Theo already on 15. So those constructs hitting for a good chunk of damage here. Maybe Andrew has a land and another 1-mana artifact to follow up. Now just an attack for 3. And yeah, we are going to... Is that a Shoot the Sheriff, I
That
think?
is a Shoot the Sheriff. And then we'll go ahead and fetch again. Perhaps surveilling once more.
And does Theo... Yeah, Theo does have 2 surveil lands. Theo is working with, 2 sewers. So does have the second surveil land there. And yeah, I mean, for Theo, has enough cards in the graveyard to maybe get an Oculus into play next turn. That's probably what we're looking for.
Yeah, not bad, that's for sure. I think I did see an Oculus in hand, not 100% sure, but
Yeah, it's kind of tough to tell. Theo playing a little close to the chest here. Seen Unearth. Get that one on top. Can't quite get a good look at the rest. And we do know about the ring in Andrew's hand. Could deploy it this turn if he so chooses, but perhaps doesn't want to just commit a bunch of mana into a potential counterspell, but looks like we are going to be going for that. Yep, it's going to get countered. Oh.
Oh, into the veil.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, that ring is now going to resolve, and Theo is in a world of hurt here. Facing down, it's the One Ring is a heck of a magic card now, and it's going to provide Andrew a ton of value. Theo also missed a land drop last turn. And now against the One Ring, really needs to find some sort of threat.
So
We are
recycling the
cycling
unearth.
Unearth. That can't be
Yep.
good news for Theo.
Playing a Verge. I mean,
Yeah, and it's
this construct is already a 3/3. We can make it a 4/4.
yeah, second construct. And this is kind of what I was worried about. Theo, I mean, to be fair, Theo didn't really just have any sort of pressure this game, but
Mhm.
just the Saga plan is pretty good against these decks that are trying to trade one for one, right? Where,
Yeah.
you just make a construct, they hold up mana, you say, okay, I'll just make another construct, keep doing that for a while. Here's a glaring Flesh Raker.
It's going to get counterspelled.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Theo did have the opportunity to, take the One Ring with the Thoughtseize, but decided to try to keep Andrew off, off curve a little bit by taking the Rumble. And yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, Ring is a heck of a card.
Yeah, Ring is one of the cards of all time.
Oh, it is. That's what I've been told.
We'll see. We'll see if Andrew has any follow-up play here, or if we're just going to be getting in for a little bit of damage.
Yeah, I think he's weighing the decision of attacking versus making another construct, because I believe Andrew's already played his land for the turn.
Yeah.
So perhaps could have made the Saga token first and then cast the Flesh Raker. But because we decided to cast the Flesh Raker first, now has to choose between dealing the damage or making the Saga token. And it looks like we're going to slam a Blade. And is that a Bauble? Vexing
That
Bauble, yeah.
that is a Vexing Bubble, yeah. So this is now going to be 5 damage. Taking Theo down to 9.
And we'll have to see what the follow-up is here for Theo. Really, I mean, just,
Passing.
yeah, not able to find any sort of pressure. Maybe has a removal spell for that other construct, but, not really sure what is in Theo's hand. But gonna need gonna need a bunch of good ones here to fight through this sort of battlefield with. Now you have to worry about the combo with the blade, you have to worry about the constructs, and you still have the One Ring in place. So a lot of problems here for Theo.
And these are going to be 7/7 constructs now.
Yep.
Get another blade out. I mean, this is the thing with, I feel like basically every Urza Saga deck is, there's this A plan that you have to be constantly respecting, but also just the B plan of, these constructs is so strong and also, has to be respected.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Andrew's deck can attack from so many different angles, right? You have the Saga plan, the combo, the Ring plan, the Flesh Raker beatdown plan. Like this, this sort of brood scale combo deck. I think a lot of people may be associated with it being one dimensional, but it really does have a lot of different options.
Yep, because we're going to see a temple come down for Andrew, and don't forget we still have this Causal X command just face up that both players know about.
It's like Andrew lining up some mana here. So brood scale, presumably with some amount of mana floating to equip.
Yeah, so there should be, 1 mana floating plus the gemstone.
Yeah, and then with that one floating, can use that plus the drum to activate the brood scale. And that is going to represent infinite. We'll see if Theo has an answer. Recycling Unearth. And I believe that's going to do it, because that's going to be infinite mana. Kozilek's command can find the ballista, and that is going to be Ellenbogen advancing 2-0 over Theo Jung.
Yeah, congratulations to Andrew Ellenbogen. I mean, very well played. Extremely crazy games. I mean, having, the double brood scale into the one of Ballista just in hand game 1, and then getting that one of Caverns on game 2 on the draw. Just very cool, very sick.
Yeah, and was also able to set up, perfectly. Didn't need to cast the One Ring on turn 4 when he had his 4th mana source. Was able to wait an extra turn to get that Veil of Summer available, and that just kind of sealed the deal for Andrew. So, congratulations to Andrew and advancing to 3-0. That is going to do it for round number 3. We will be back here in just a little bit with round number 4 action. So don't go anywhere.